Welcome to another episode of Being Sadaf. I'm so happy you guys are here with me. You know how important glioblastoma is to me and how close that organization of glioblastoma, any organization for it, is so close to my heart, and the disease is so close to my heart. It hit my family, it has hit my friends, and July is Glioblastoma Awareness Month. Therefore, I decided to have a very special guest with me today, and I would like to toss it to her so she can introduce herself. Welcome, Sundas.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sundas Hashmi. Thank you, Sadaf, for having me here. I grew up in Pakistan, and I came here in 2001 for college. I did a double major in engineering and economics, and then I worked for about 13 years in finance, investment management, and public policy. But then my son was born, and he was my second kid. So I decided, you know what, it's time to take a break. But, in early 2020, I had a grand mal seizure. And lo and behold, I was diagnosed with brain cancer.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I want everyone to know that Good Morning America had her on their show recently, and she told her entire story, and it was very, very touching. And Sundas and I met about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, right after Rehan had passed away. She reached out to me, and I was forever grateful because we shared that grief and the fact that I get to see life through another lens, a lens of a person living with a tumor.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So when I was diagnosed, to say it changed my life would be an understatement. It was devastating. I don't know it. I don't know how I got through it, but because of all the ongoing cognitive challenges I have, I can no longer work full time. And so instead, I write. And my work has appeared in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. And as
That's so amazing.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I was recently on Good Morning America discussing my journey of living with brain cancer with a co-host, Michael Strahan. So thank you very much for having me here.
So when you say your life perspective has changed, and we as Pakistanis, and when you are educated and you've gone through school and you're in finance or you're in engineering and you're a doctor, we're all trying to climb this imaginary ladder to nowhere land, right? I know you understand that concept.
Yes.
What is life for you, knowing that, life is so precious? Like, what is the meaning of life to you? We see Saks. We want to run into Saks and buy the latest Chanel if we have the money. Or if, once we make it big, we're like, oh, I want to go buy that Mercedes. Mm-hmm. Even though, mashallah,
yeah.
you are very successful in your life,
yeah.
and your husband
yes
is very successful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What makes you happy? Because materialistic things are things that these girls and this society that we live in, the Pakistani American world, it's all about materialism.
Yes. So I would just say that, I guess it's an awful thing that happened to me. But, I think it shifted my perspective, So now these small things like, conflicts with friends or debating what to wear for the next event, or even career issues, they are no longer that important to me. And, it's not a knock on anyone. I understand,
Not at all.
Whoever is in that, situation and they have these problems, it's, whatever is good for them is fine. But for me, what I worry about or what I care about is my next MRI. I live scan to scan. I get an MRI every quarter. And right before an MRI, my anxiety is so high. And, because I'm constantly worried, like, what is it going to show? Is the tumor back? What if I have to have another surgery? Will I be there for my children? Will I be there to see them graduate from high school, from college? Will I be there for their wedding?
No, may God give you a long life. But while you're speaking of the tumor, mm-hmm. Where did you go for your surgery? And why did you choose the hospital?
When I had my grand mal seizure, I have no memory of it. It's like an electrical storm over the brain. And, the person who goes through it doesn't remember anything for the next 2 days. So I had no idea, but I was taken to the nearest ER, which happened to be Weill Cornell. And, when I came around, I was just looking around and thinking, who are all these people and why are they here? And why am I in the hospital? Um, and, this doctor walks in and he very calmly tells me that he found, while I was out, they did some scans and found a huge lesion in my brain. And I was thinking, a brain tumor? Like, seriously?
No.
It was devastating, catastrophic, traumatic, but it wasn't shocking.
It wasn't shocking?
It wasn't shocking.
Why wasn't it shocking?
Because, 20 years earlier, my brother had gone through the same thing. And, it was always in the back of my mind that one day it will come for me too.
Why? Why did you feel that?
I don't know, because we were so similar that it felt like a coin toss when he got it and I didn't. So, over the years, every little twinge in my head, every small headache would take me to the doctor's office and I would demand they run a scan. But MRIs are expensive. So they would always be like, oh, no, you're working too hard and headaches are common. Just take some Advil. But then I had the seizure. So,
when I read your story the first time and we got to know each other and you told me about your brother first.
Yeah.
Passing away from glioblastoma, which is a horrific beast.
Yeah.
And what the family and caretakers and what the human goes through, losing like the liveliness of who they are.
Yeah.
And they lose the sense of life and watching that diminish. I often wonder, did that cause stress in your life, daily stress, that I may get that? And do you think other family members feel that way?
So, my brother was 18 when he passed, and he was diagnosed when he was 16. And, he was so bright, so handsome, so smart. And to see someone like that, degrade so quickly over 2 years into a fraction of themselves was and remains the most traumatic event of my life. Like, nothing else can come close. My parents, they had a few morning rituals, but then coped with their grief by shutting down. I was 15 and I was surrounded by family. We grew up in a joint family system. So our house was filled with uncles and aunts and a million cousins. But I felt so lonely, so utterly, completely alone. And, yes, there was a lot of stress, but there was also a lot of survivor's guilt, because like I mentioned, we were so similar. And I had a lot of anger issues. Every time I would see an old idle person, I would be like, dude, why do you get to live? When my young brother,
oh my God,
who was so
you
handsome, he had so much to contribute to the world, and he's not here. I had so much resentment for my peers, the way their lives went on when mine was destroyed. But yeah, I just, for lack of a better word, I just buried my grief. I just worked really, really hard. And in a way, it served me well. I came to college here. But I carried my grief with me. So, I took the hardest courses and then I picked investment banking as a career, which is notorious for its long working hours.
Yes.
Anything to not think about him. Anything to distract myself.
I mean, I think that's the only way you can cope. Like, I know when Rehan, my late husband, was diagnosed with glioblastoma, the first thing we thought was, why him out of everybody?
Yeah.
It was like everybody had already watched their kids grow up and whatnot. And I was so angry.
Yeah.
That why my life? Like, you get married, when we get married and we have families and we expect to grow together. And even though we fight like cats and dogs, and do you know how many people throw that in my face? Oh, but you fought with him so much. Oh, you don't fight with your husband? Trust me, everybody does, but you still love your spouse.
I know.
You don't want your spouse to leave the world.
You never expect them to die. No, of course not.
On top of it, they're your person. They're the person that sticks by your side. They have your back when someone's, being catty with you. They're the ones that put things into perspective. And I feel when I buried my husband, not only did I suffer from survivor's guilt, I suffered from the loss of self. I didn't know who I was anymore. Yeah. And for the longest time, I allowed some random person to just dictate my life until now, where I'm fully control of my life. And I'm finally back where I am. And I understand like bearing your grief because you don't want to feel that pain.
You don't.
And what is a good outlet, do you think? Because, now you have a brain tumor and you have children.
Yeah, so I was successful. Like I said, I buried it. I tried not to think about him. I got married, had 2 children, but then I got diagnosed with my brain tumor, and then I just couldn't hold it in anymore. It was like the floodgates were open, and all the anxiety and depression were coming up, and I couldn't stop crying. And my neurosurgeon of all people suggested I see a therapist, and I was like, dude, we're from Pakistan. We don't do therapy, okay? We deal with our problems ourselves. And she's like, no, I think you would really benefit from one. And, that's when I started seeing a therapist. And it was reluctantly, I was skeptical about it. But, to say that she changed my life would be an understatement. She is so incredible. And, initially I thought our sessions would be focused on my health, my well being, my future. But she kept bringing up questions about my brother. And I didn't understand why she's torturing me. But then over time, I realized the beauty of exposure therapy. It's like by repeatedly talking about painful things, it eventually diminishes their power. So now I can say his name, Fawad, and I can look at his pictures without
And you
crying.
couldn't before?
I couldn't before.
I'm so sorry.
And now I can sit with my grief without the overwhelming need for distraction.
So when you sit there and you think about yourself, and how did your children react when you told them?
So that's a very good question. So I didn't tell them for the longest time. I just couldn't bring up the nerve, and it was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. But my son, I eventually mustered up the courage. But my son was 7, and he was having dinner. So I walked up to him and I said, "Honey, I just want you to know that mommy's sick." And he looked at me and he's like, "No, you're not." And then he went back to, I think he was drawing a dinosaur. And I said, "No, it's not the normal kind of sickness. I don't have a cold, and it's nothing like what you are used to hearing. It's when the body cells start behaving badly, and it's called cancer." And I said, "I just want you to know that you didn't cause it. There's no way you can catch it from me, and that no matter what happens, I love you forever."
Oh.
And so he listened intently, but he went back to drawing. With my daughter, she was older. She was 12, and kids are a lot more sensitive at that age. So I had to structure it a bit differently. She knew I have cancer. She reads my articles. But I told her during a walk to Sephora, because she loves Sephora. So I figured
Yeah, why not?
A good time. And I told her, "Listen, I know that I have brain cancer, but it's not the same kind that my brother did. And I've got a great team of doctors, and she just had one question for me. Mommy, are you going to die?"
Oh.
And I said,
That just breaks my heart.
I know. So I said, "Well, I'm seeing some great doctors. I'm going to the best hospital in New York, and together we're trying to make sure that I'm around till you're at least in college." That's all she needed to hear. So, this was like one of the hardest conversations I've ever had, but I just felt relief afterwards.
How do you deal with the day-to-day?
Distraction. And my daily walks. I love my daily walks in the park. That's why I moved to the Upper East Side. I have taken a birding while I'm in the park. I never thought I would be the person to look at birds, but now I'm just
I'm like birding. That's a thing.
I read somewhere.
Well, you guys, birding is a thing, okay?
It is a thing, okay. It's so I read somewhere that birding is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So I guess my when has arrived.
Wow.
And
That's beautiful, though.
It is. And now when I'm in the park, I know so much more about blue jays, warblers, cardinals. So yeah, so that's what I do. It's
So you're basically doing brain exercises.
I mean, I don't know about that, but yes, it is my happy place. It's where I feel the calmest. It's very meditative, very therapeutic.
So your surgeries that you had, it was an awake surgery.
It was a craniotomy, yeah.
Yes, because I read about it.
Yeah.
And I've watched Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have much to go off of. Just Grey's Anatomy, where they want to make sure you're still speaking and talking, and you can still move your body and not paralyzed.
Yeah.
That must have been the most terrifying thing that a person can go through.
It sounds like science fiction, and I'm so grateful that it is an option, because before, people would come out disabled from their surgeries. But now they do this thing where, they check your movements and they talk to you. And the minute your speech starts to go, or if you can't move a body part, they know not to go there. The good thing is, I think it's a blessing that you don't remember it afterwards.
Wow.
So
Really?
yeah.
That is amazing. That is
I
so
know.
good. I'm
I
so
know.
grateful because
Yeah.
my son and I are watching Grey's Anatomy these
Yeah.
days, and
Yeah.
they have, the major guy is a brain surgeon,
Yeah.
and they have
McDreamy.
McDreamy.
Mm-hmm.
McDreamy is a brain surgeon, and
Yeah.
he sits there and he did a craniotomy on a boy who was a spelling bee champion, and my son and I watched that, and as soon as he couldn't spell anymore, they
Yeah.
stopped.
They stopped. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, I am very much, I admire my neurosurgeon a lot. She's incredible. She did a great job. And like myself, she's an immigrant. She's from Lebanon.
Really
Yeah.
nice.
And she's the chair of neurosurgery at MSK. So,
Oh wow. Okay. So we didn't go to MSK. We did have a consultation, but
yeah.
they said that there was nothing that they could do for us that Mount Sinai couldn't. And plus we had Dr. Gatan. He was the #1 pediatric neurosurgeon.
Okay.
So we were like, if he can do neurosurgery on little kids, this is he's
Okay.
our guy.
Okay.
And
Rehan got surgery here
he
in
had
New
two
York.
of his surgeries.
Okay.
He's the one that caught it. And they're the ones that caught it. And then
Okay.
he was like, I'm going to do the surgery on you.
Okay.
And after he did his surgery, he was very blunt with him. He's like, you will never see left, because the tumor had already chewed up the left side of his
Right. Brain. Mm-hmm.
And the nerves were just shot, and he couldn't see left anymore. And that's how he realized that he was having problems. We were supposed to go get water, and he couldn't see his keys, and they were right there, and he couldn't see left. And then the next day, work thought he was slurring his words. He was supposed to go to Princeton and give a speech on media.
Yeah.
And he couldn't. They decided not to send him, and instead they sent him to Mount Sinai. There he was diagnosed, and the next day the doctor came in and they were like, we're not going to wait another day. We're just going to go ahead. The tumor is bigger than a golf ball, smaller than a tennis ball. So that's really large. And then when he was being fitted for his mask for radiology, the radiologist saw the tumor grow back.
Wow.
Excessively.
Wow.
So then immediately he had a surgery over a surgery.
Wow.
A fresh,
that's insane.
cut over another cut. And it was so scary because when Dr. Gatan came out, I've never seen someone look sad. And he had tears in his eyes. And he came up to me and he said, I'm sorry, I did the best I could, but if I went further, it would have killed him.
I know.
So it was connected to the major arteries, and they didn't want him to lose complete function. But he did tell me he will lose empathy. He will lose concern and care for others.
Right.
And they do become selfish. I don't know if your brother had...
No, so my brother's tumor was diffuse, so it couldn't be operated upon. They just did a biopsy, and then they did radiation. In the 90s, chemo was not part of the standard of care.
Yes, it was not.
But, the radiation just destroyed him. He was not the same afterwards.
You know what?
Yeah.
I feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
When my son, we didn't want my son to know what his dad had. And it was really kind of cute because he was only 9 at that time. And he goes, I know what Dada has. He has diabloblastoma. And we were like, yes, it is diabloblastoma. And he did his research, and he goes, until 2010, they never did chemo or radiation. They wouldn't do chemo on a patient. But now they do chemo, and the chemo shrinks the tumor. But I don't think it helps him in any way. Like, he lost the ability to walk straight, to function properly, and I don't even know if I would ever allow anyone to do surgery. I would say no to it.
For glioblastoma patients?
Because they're going to die anyway.
They are, yeah. It's, but to tell that to the
someone
family
who's dying,
of a young person, it's hard.
It is.
So it's a tough rope that the doctors are navigating. But you never know also, because some patients tend to survive a lot. But those are like the tail end of the curve,
Because when Rehan had his first surgery, I still remember he was still normal. Like, we went out.
See, that's the thing. My brother walked in so normal, and he came out and he was never the same again. And I was like, they destroyed him. Because then after radiation, he was dragging his left foot, and his left hand would not work. And eventually it just clenched into a fist. and he was on dexamethasone, the steroid, and he was
Dexamethasone.
like gaining
Ginormous, right?
exactly. And
They're like the Hulk.
he had lost his hair, and it was just really hard to see that. Very, very hard.
I remember when Rehan, the tumor came back, and it was the 25th night of Ramadan. As many of you guys may not know this, but in the Muslim religion, the last 10 nights are very, very sacred to us. So 20th to the 30th is very sacred. So on the 25th night, I spent 9.5 hours in ER waiting for him to have a scan. And we found out the tumor was back. And the doctor, we were in Cincinnati at this time. The doctor at Cincinnati Hospital, I think they just wanted tissue. They told him to do it. I reached out to Dr. Gatan at Mount Sinai. He's like, I'm going to speak to you like a brother. Don't do it. Give him time. Let him enjoy whatever life he has.
Yeah.
He will be paralyzed.
Yeah.
He can go have a stroke.
Yeah.
He had a stroke during his surgery.
Stop.
He became paralyzed. And eventually he just stopped caring. And it was very, very difficult for my family. But
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, I just feel so bad for every time I meet the caregivers of a glioblastoma patient.
It is tough.
Yeah, it's very tough.
But today's not about me. It is about you. So when you look at you, you're very healthy looking. You're a gorgeous person.
Thank you.
Mashallah. And in order to, you, like you said, you distract yourself, you go on walks. Were there days when you couldn't get out of bed and you were so upset? Were you angry at life ever?
You know, I think having children really changed that. I think that's very self-indulgent to just lie in bed. I feel like my kids give me the drive, because somebody needs to give them dinner. Somebody needs to dress them up. Somebody needs to take them to school. They have all these needs. So, I'm grateful that I don't have a disability. I'm not on a wheelchair.
No.
I think my brain functions, maybe at 70 to 80% of cognition.
No, I think it's like 100%. I would never ever say 75 to 80%.
So, and then, towards the night, like, it just starts shutting down. So the fatigue is off the charts. So I'm on this, I was telling the photographer that I'm on this drug. It's called vorasidenib. And that's one of the side effects. It causes intense fatigue.
So what does that do for you?
It keeps the tumor stable.
Okay.
So, when the neuro-oncologist put me on it, he was very clear that, it's not a cure. All it does is gives you a few extra months of survival. And I said, you know what? I have little kids. I'll take any time I can get. Plus, I had seen my brother go through radiation. So I was like,
did they offer you radiation?
They did. So, that was the other option. The standard of care was chemo and radiation. And the radiologist was obviously really pushing for it. Mm-hmm. I said, I'll just do the clinical trial.
What did your family think of that? Like your husband, your parents?
So, I was at 37, so I was making my own decisions. But, they're also seeing my brother go through it. And obviously nobody wants that,
Yeah.
So, and there's always hope with the clinical trial. It's like, oh, maybe this is the next thing, who knows?
You never know.
You never know.
So it's a clinical trial that
It is a clinical trial, and knock on wood, it was just approved by the FDA. So now I get it from the pharmacy. Yes. And, it's been 4 years since I've been on the drug. Wow. So it was supposed to be only 17 extra months of survival, but it's been 4 years.
So that's amazing.
It is.
You have 40 more years.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You seem to be able to do day-to-day normal functions. Like you can cook, you can take care of your children, you can drive them.
I don't drive.
You walk them to their school?
Yes. So, there was a time when we were thinking of moving to the burbs, but then I was diagnosed. And because I'm at seizure risk, I don't want to get in a car and drive.
That's very true.
So I said, I'm going to stay in the city where I can walk the kids.
Does the noise bother you?
It does. That's the one big side effect. So I don't like going to concerts or any loud places. And if there's crosstalk, it just... Yeah, I can't handle it.
Say you're watching a movie, blinking lights. I know.
Yes, that is very difficult. So I just close my eyes.
Okay, because that's one of the triggers for seizures. And living in the city, you do have an advantage where you don't have to drive.
I don't have to drive.
And you can just walk right down the street, get your groceries and everything. Yes. Other than that, are you able to just sit there and finish a book from start to finish, or is it difficult for you?
Finish a what?
A book.
A book. So fortunately, it hasn't impacted my reading ability. Now, I fall asleep a lot of times reading a book, but other than that, it hasn't. But my memory, my short-term memory especially, has been really impacted.
Really?
So I forget things all the time. So but you
But
figure
that
out.
can be with age too.
Yeah, but mine happened immediately after surgery.
Really?
So now, but I draw checklists before going out. Did I keep my wallet? Check. Did I keep my phone? Check. Did I keep my headphones? Check.
Okay, good for you.
Do I have my keys? Did I lock the door? But even then, I still forget things. So yeah.
As we come to the close of our program today, and it's discussing brain cancer, which is a very difficult topic for many out there.
Yeah. Yes, so my mom says that, and her sisters believe that, but I'm just like, it was just bad luck. And then, I got it and it was more bad luck. Yes, they say it a lot. Don't put, nice pictures of yourself on
Yes.
Instagram. But
after Rehan passed away, I started putting up more pictures because I never used to put up pictures.
Okay.
I used to put up maybe one picture of him like a year.
Yeah.
And even that, everyone's like, oh, you got Nasser. I'm like, wait a second. The Kardashians are not getting any evil eye.
That's what I say. I said, all these other people are constantly online. They're not getting
Elon
Nasser.
Musk just made $1 trillion. Okay?
He's not getting Nasser.
No, he's not getting Nasser. I mean, I think those are the people that people should be looking at.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give to somebody in your situation? Because I'm sure there are people that are going to watch this and relate to it, because brain tumor is something that you can live with for the rest of your life. And sometimes they don't ever touch it. Like, I know somebody who has a tumor in her spine, and they can't touch it because they're afraid to mess up. Something may go wrong. She could be paralyzed, right? The spine, the brain, it's always very, very tricky. And that is something she lives with every single day, knowing that she has a tumor in her spine. What advice would you give them? Because a lot of people, like you said, you didn't do self-pity. A lot of people do. I mean, I had self-pity when my husband died, not like to the extent of like not being able to show up for people. But even now, sometimes I look at people and I'm not giving them nazar. I'm not giving them the evil eye, but I wish that, like when I went to Hajj, for example, I wish I could have done it with my husband.
Yeah,
or
of course. That's very natural.
Yes. Like just natural things, like Thanksgiving. Or like, Eid. We don't like to celebrate it anymore because Rehan died on Eid.
Oh, wow.
And
wow, that's a lot.
What advice would you give somebody?
So that's a good question. In the context of my brother, I would say that it was such an awful thing. So awful. But the one good thing that has come of it is that now I know how to deal with, or at least I think I know how to handle other people who are grieving the loss of someone special to them. I used to say things like, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
But now I know it's so futile. Instead, I ask them the gentle questions I wish I had been asked. Things like, what were they like? Tell me about them.
Yes.
What did they enjoy doing? What is your favorite memory with them? What was their laughter like? I almost always take food for people who are grieving because I know they don't have the energy to cook. I now know the importance of sitting with people in their grief, so I try to check in regularly. And because I know how lonely and isolating it is, I'm open about sharing my own loss in the hope that it might help someone with theirs.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
You talk about being isolated. Do you feel isolated with your tumor?
Yes. I think everybody who has cancer or everybody who is struggling with this disease, that is one of the biggest issues, is how lonely you feel. So, I think having friends is very important. Having a community is very important.
Did you lose any friends during this time?
To cancer?
While you were, when you were diagnosed, did you lose people in your life? Like they walked away from it? They couldn't deal with it.
Oh, yeah. So yes. So a lot of friends, yes, of course. I think that's very, very natural. They just don't know how to deal with it. So they stop responding. They start
Yes.
ghosting you.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I'm so sorry.
but I think, then there are other people who rally around you, so I don't hold it against anybody. It is whatever they can do is fine.
You're a good
But-
person. I would. I'm just kidding.
No,
I don't know.
But I sort of, I feel it's okay. People can only take that much. And, a lot of time they don't want the bad energy. They want to keep things light.
But that's not a bad energy. That is your truth, and that's your life.
Yes. But a lot of people don't know how to handle it. They don't want to say the wrong thing. So they just don't say anything.
Or they're just selfish. And they want to keep going out and buying the Chanel bags and not have to look at you and be like, okay, well, put life into perspective, right?
Yeah.
I know sometimes when I walk into a room that I can be a buzzkill because I'm reminded.
So I try not to be a buzzkill, and I know it's hard because, people just want to have fun. They want to have a good time at events.
And so do we, don't you? Don't you believe
I
that?
absolutely want to have a good time. I don't want to dwell on it. But yes, it is always in the back of my mind, and it is an isolating experience. And yes, it's my cross. I have to bear it. What else can I do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So other than walking, is there another outlet that you have for yourself?
Yes, writing. It is, I was an engineer. I'd never written in my life. And then when my therapist said you should write, I was like, are you kidding me? I spent my college years finding ways to avoid writing classes. And now you're telling me to write. She's like, yes, it'll be good for you. And, she was so right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I find it so incredibly therapeutic now just to put my thoughts on paper. It just forces me to pay attention.
And you write very beautifully.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. But yeah, no, it forces me to pay attention, get my feelings down, get them out of me. So yeah.
I forgot to ask you a major question, which my mother would get really mad at me for not asking you. Mm-hmm. How did your parents respond?
To my tumor?
Yes.
They were devastated, obviously, because it was the second time they were going through it. First it was my brother, and that was absolutely devastating. It just destroyed my mother for sure. But then to have a second child go through it, like I can't imagine. I can't imagine. My father died very soon afterwards, like
I'm
6
so
months.
Sorry. I had no idea.
Okay. Thank you. He passed away 6 months into my illness. My mother says he just couldn't handle it.
Sometimes grief can kill you.
I guess. So
I do believe that.
You do?
Yes. I do believe it's called a broken heart syndrome.
Really?
Yes. It's an actual thing. Where
then I must have died a million deaths then.
No, you're here for a higher purpose to tell people that even though you've gone through your brother dying and passing away of glioblastoma and watching your father pass away, you're still keeping it together and you look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And I have so much respect for you.
Thank you.
I feel very frivolous sitting in front of you because sometimes I think about oh my God, I need to do this for my son and he needs to be here and he needs to be here and he needs to be here, right? Mm-hmm. But does it really matter?
It doesn't. That's the other thing.
They just need to be happy.
It's so funny you say that because we were applying for middle schools for my daughter. At the interview, they would ask, what are you looking for? And I was like, I just want my daughter to be happy. And my husband said, that is the dumbest answer anybody can give. I'm like, but that is actually the only thing that's important to me.
Yes, important to you. Absolutely.
But, I guess he hasn't gone through what I have. So.
And your husband been a good caretaker?
Yes, he's been
Shout
amazing.
out to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, I'm not at the stage yet where Rehan was or my brother was. So, it remains to be seen. But
it doesn't matter.
I have confidence that he will rise to the challenge.
I think whatever he's done for you thus far is great.
Yes.
You get to spend time with your children.
Yes.
And take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. I think taking care of yourself right now is the most important thing for yourself.
Absolutely.
And you're very blessed to have that. Yeah. There's always a silver lining and we always must look for it. Mm-hmm. So you guys, this is the end of our program. And if you do not donate to brain cancer research. You really, really need to, because our president stopped all research that was funding brain cancers and tumors. So please go out, find an organization, and Sundas is going to talk a little bit about our brain bank, which she is on the board of.
So I'm on the board of this brain cancer advocacy nonprofit. It's called Our Brain Bank. We are focused on advocacy for glioblastoma patients and their caregivers. And we raise funding and we collect data from patients and caregivers themselves. We believe we can find a cure, and together we can get there.
That's beautiful. And I really, really hope you can, because that needs to be done. Something needs to happen. They need to be able to live longer than 2 years.
Yes, absolutely. We just don't think the standard of care of chemo and radiation is good enough. At most, it gives 5% of patients 5 years or longer. That's unacceptable.
Do you know, I only know of one person on my grief group on glioblastoma in Facebook that has lived longer than 5 years. I don't know anybody else. And Rehan lived 1 lunar year, and that was it.
That's it.
But he was unmethylated and wild type, which is random.
So we didn't have these categories when my brother was diagnosed. We just knew he had diffuse glioblastoma.
He had diffused. Okay.
Yes,
which I think,
it's like the worst kind ever. But yes, that's why, when I heard your story, it was so similar to my brother's. I was like, wow. The parallels are just very, very strong. I do want to say one thing, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, for people out there who are grieving, I just want to say these 2 things. Firstly, grief is an experience you learn to live with. It's not a roadblock or an obstacle you just get over. And secondly, as horrible, as horrendous as it is, this grief, this melancholy is just a reflection of my love for my brother. And he will remain forever and always a part of me.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. That means a lot. I agree with you. All right, you guys. So,
yes.
Oh, we have a question, you guys.
Is there anyone in your family prior to your brother, or even for you prior to your husband, who had this cancer or cancer of the brain?
So, I grew up in a joint family system, and, it was a middle-class house. It was my grandparents' home. So a joint family system is like we had so many aunts and uncles and 1 million cousins living with us. Nobody has it. It was just my brother. And actually, nobody in my extended family has it. The 2 diseases that are rampant in our family are heart disease and diabetes. So he was the first one with brain cancer, and I am the second one. Sadaf here mentioned if stress could have caused it, but I thought there must be a genetic element. Like, how could it be? And on my insistence, the doctor ran a genetic test, but it came out negative. It showed no correlation. So I was like, okay. But my doctor did say, ask me in 10 years and I might have a better answer.
Oh, God, no. I know my sister wants my son because Rehan and I obviously have 0 relation, and no one on his side has ever had any form of cancer. So that was really shocking. And again, it's just heart disease and diabetes with all South Asians.
Yes.
90%. But my grandmother, my maternal from my mom's side, she died at 54 with, I think it was glioblastoma. She had a brain tumor and died immediately.
Okay.
So at that time in 1989, they didn't have any cure for anything.
Yeah.
So that is from my side. Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with him. Mm-hmm. And my sister has said my son Rafe could go through a blood test and see if he is prone to it or genetically linked or anything. And I said no, because I don't want to know anything.
Yeah.
It is.
Who would?
What?
I said, who would? It would be different if there was a cure. You know?
It would be different if there was a cure. Yeah. Like, why would I want to live like that? And I said, absolutely not. I would never want to do that to my son. No. So no, we've had 0 connection, and glioblastoma was just a freak situation. And my husband used to think that he had a earpiece in his ear for 25 years because he was a news guy. Mm-hmm. He was vice president of ABC News.
Oh, maybe that caused it.
Here. Yeah. In New York. And then he was vice president in Houston. Mm-hmm. Before that, he was executive producer. He could talk to anyone through satellite, anywhere in the world.
Okay.
And he used to sleep with his phone. So we don't know.
But
And
everybody does that,
yes.
and there are like a million newscasters in the world.
And
everybody
they're all
now,
healthy.
they're all healthy.
That's true.
Like all my cousins, the million of cousins I lived with, they're all okay.
That's true. Very, very, very true. I mean,
like there were people who suggested it could be environmental, and that would be a good point. Except those million cousins, why are they okay? We grew up together.
That's very true, because we had just moved from Houston to New York, and he was in his position for 5 months when he was diagnosed.
Yeah.
And he was so happy, so excited. So it's not like he was stressed out or unhappy.
Yeah.
He was actually probably the happiest in his life. And he thought it was a vaccine. I'm not going to lie. Because he said
he got diagnosed.
He
so
thought
some vaccine caused it?
He thought that the COVID vaccine caused it. That was his thinking after he had his the tumor resected.
But then the whole of America would have it.
Exactly. That's what I said. I said we had the same. We all three had Moderna, and none of us got it. So you just don't know. And the thing is, he had an infection in his right eye 6 months prior in Houston before moving to New York. And my friend was the one that admitted him immediately. It was a staph infection in his right eye, and they did IV antibiotics overnight. He was there for 2 days. And she immediately wanted the scans when she found out he had glioblastoma. And she was like, Sadaf, it was clean. So it developed basically overnight. And I asked how fast did they develop brain tumors. They said they can develop just from anywhere from 12 hours from overnight to 3 to 6 months. We don't know.
So that's the thing with the GBM. It grows really, really fast.
Really fast.
Yeah.
And one thing people don't talk about GBM is the glial cells, because they're all in our brain, but they're dormant.
Yes.
And once they're awoke, they wake up.
Yeah.
They triple by the second.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. My tumor is the size of a peach. It was
the size of a peach?
It was the size of a peach, yes.
And how much did you have it resected?
95%,
wow.
Thankfully. The doctor said she tried to reach the remaining 5%, but then I got agitated during the surgery.
So she didn't want to touch it?
She's like, yeah.
And
it was a long surgery. It took her a long time to extract it.
How long was your surgery?
I don't remember, but it was several hours.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But, I remember that before I walked in, actually, I don't remember this. I have no memory of it. But my husband and my best friend who were there tell me that I insisted she take pictures of my children and my brother. And I put them on the nightstand. And my best guess is I wanted her to see me as a human being, not as a guinea pig.
Yes.
Although in hindsight, that was not smart because they're supposed to remain objective
Yeah.
and unbiased.
So, no, I mean, I think your doctor is amazing. I think all doctors out there that do neurosurgery are amazing.
Yeah.
Being able to go into the brain in such intricate areas is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So I really, I'm so grateful to have come to New York and met you finally in person. And
Same here.
And thank you for doing this podcast with me. And I think this will be very educational and useful for people in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Sadaf. Very nice to be here.
So thank you guys. And that is a wrap.